right, we're live.
Uhuru. My name is Makeda Aitanik Baraka. I spent a number of years right here in the community on the north side of St. Louis. And I just want you all to know I am a small business owner. I own a massage business called Hands by Simply Soothing. Most recently, Conversation Piece, which is an initiative to help people reconnect through the power of heartfelt human communication. I would like to say that I have been a longtime supporter of the African People's Education and Defense Fund and the Black Power Blueprint from day one, since the murder of Mike Brown on August 9th, 2014. Right now, we would like to welcome all who have come out today to this important press conference to discuss some important issues that the African People's Education and Defense Fund, APEDF, is hoping to resolve with the city government of St. Louis to be able to open this bakery behind us and cafe for this community in College Hill on the north side of St. Louis. This is part of our overall program for Black community economic development right here in North St. Louis. We ask that any media and speakers sign in with our media representative, Ruby Gittleson over here to get a press packet. All other guest speakers, we ask that you check in with Ikinge Mele right here. And please hold your questions until the end of the press conference, at which time we will be glad to address them. Right now, I am honored to welcome up APEDF Board President Onozine Yeshitela, who will lay out these important issues. Welcome, and a big uhuru to President Onozine Yeshitela. Uhuru.
Uhuru. My name is Onozine Yeshitela, and I'm the board president for the African People's Education and Defense Fund, and I'm also the architect of the Black Power Blueprint. I want to really just say thank you to the media who has come out and just sharing this live with us today. And I also want to thank the community who came out to support us as well. APDF is a tax-exempt nonprofit organization carrying out our mission here in St. Louis through the Black Power Blueprint. We have acquired and renovated properties for projects and programs to feed, clothe, and house ourselves. A key part of our mission is to defend the human and civil rights of the African community. The existence of APDF is a response to the general conditions of colonialism that we face as a people. As the Uhuru Movement founder, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, said on Thursday, November 7th, in light of Tuesday's elections results, our fear is not Trump. Our fear is colonialism. Colonialism is the foreign domination of a nation or people at the social, political, economic expense of a dominated nation or people. Research has shown that 17-year gap in life expectancy between the South Side and the North Side in St. Louis, that illustrates this condition. Many of you have already seen the profound rebuilding of St. Louis at APDF expense. We have demolished buildings in our community that have been pushed into a state of decay, demoralizing our people and denying our children an opportunity to easily imagine a future of happiness and success. We have created economic institutions to bring food and jobs into the food desert that we have created by a history of unjust public policies. APDF is bringing life-generating programs that will overturn these conditions of colonialism that resulted in enough Black children dying in the first year of their life to fill 12 kindergarten classrooms each year. I stood before you on May 26, 2023, a little over a year ago, because LRA, Neil Richardson, and Lance Knuckles tried to rescind properties that we were awarded to APDF through their new process, claiming they stand for economic justice, focus on our historically disenfranchised and disinvested community, the North Side. We thought this was going to be a new era. that would make LRA properties available to benefit the Black community residents and small businesses. Well, we know that didn't happen. During the last 7 years, APDF and the Black Power Blueprint has been trying to improve the Northside community. We have faced roadblocks the entire way. APDF purchased this building at 3719 right behind us on West Florissant for a private Uhuru Bakery and Cafe on Friday, January 26th of 2024 from a private owner. Since that time, APDF has been working fiercely to get all the processes in place to open, producing architectural plans and, to the city, which it doesn't matter. We spend $5,000 on architectural plans, but they don't care. So, next. Excuse me. We have been holding events to raise resources with donors. We have begun the process of demoing this building. We are getting our licenses, setting up our website, supporting food vendors, and so much more. But back in June, we found out that we needed a conditional use permit to open a restaurant in a building that has housed a restaurant for the past 22 years. Let me say that again. We have to get a conditional use permit to even open for a restaurant that's been here for 22 years. Meanwhile, we are losing hundreds of dollars daily, paying utilities, paying fines, securing the building, and other expenses. Everyone is asking, why aren't you open? The city has denied our permit even when we followed all of their processes. We had to wait until August of 22nd for a conditional use hearing, where we hope the permit will be approved. For that hearing, there was no letter of opposition to the granting of this permit received by the zoning board. It was from one person, Terry Rose, the alleged president of the so-called neighborhood association. She claimed in her letter of opposition 3 things. 1, and I quote her, Uhuru is a foreign Russian corporation whose president is currently under federal indictment for Russia propaganda charges. APDF is a nonprofit 501c3. I am the president, and I'm not under any indictment, and no board members are under indictment as well. Number 2 is what she's claiming, is that, and I quote her from the letter that she sent, College Hill is not an entirely African community. Many residents, white and black, have lived and worked together side by side in College Hill for decades, 30, 40, 50 years, based on a review of the Uhuru flyer that she received, saying that residents feel Uhuru is divisive, which is the Russian government goal, unquote. So I just here to say that APDF mission is to defend the human and civil rights of the African community, and to create jobs and to create programs that speaks to the disparities in healthcare, education, and economic development. So some of the programs that we have created that she is saying that we are divisive is the Black Power Vanguard basketball court right up the street, where we have a safe place for our kids to have basketball and have a safe place to for recreation space. The Gary Brooks Community Garden has given away 1,000 pounds of vegetables for the last 5 years. We have a Aquaba Hall and a Karibo outdoor space that gives people an opportunity to rent at affordable prices, where you can have your birthday party, your wedding, any kind of event. You can come there and have that. We have the One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market, where people who can't afford to have a brick and mortar business, they can come in with us and become incubated through their business. People of all ages and nationalities volunteer in these programs. The conditions faced by this community that these programs are overturning are not divisive, but the opposite. These programs are bringing commerce and prosperity into this community. Terry Rose is the divisive one. And her final point, and I quote, residents do not want buildings made of shipping containers in their neighborhood. Well, even though we are not using shipping containers for this building, shipping containers are being used all over the world as an environmentally stability building solution. This is what a white nationalist, Terry Rose, said from the Neighborhood Association and what the city of St. Louis united with. The denial was an arbitrary decision made by Sandra Long, who is the zoning planning examiner, and rubber stamped by the president of the Board of Public Service, Richard T. Bradley. Sandra Long admitted to us that she made a judgment call to recommend the denial, and Robert Bradley told us in person that he didn't even look at our file. There was no public meeting for this to happen. No one from the city contacted APDF or did any research to find out if Terry Rose allegations were founded. In fact, none of these are true, and this is just slander and libel. Terry Rose's letter of opposition was a sole opposing position in the hearing. 14 community members were present and spoke in favor of the bakery. In preparation for this hearing, we also went door to door and got hundreds of supportive signatures. So many people and local businesses said yes to the bakery and yes to good food. And on the north side, businesses on the south side also signed letters of support, saying that they want to end the Delmar divide and support the right of Black businesses and community to have access to good food and to build their businesses. The zoning board disregarded all of the 223 signatures from individuals, the 114 business letters, and the 14 people who made public statements during the hearing stating that they desired to make a cafe on the north side of St. Louis. The Board of Public Service claimed in their September board hearing to deny the letter of Uhuru Bakery Cafe. They said, this is what they wrote to us. They said, we will be detrimental to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the city. Let me just say that again. They say we will be detrimental to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the city. The conditions that people face here in North St. Louis are detrimental to our health, our safety, and morals, and our general welfare. Since 1994, APDF has proven track record of putting programs on the ground that is improving concrete conditions in our communities. How can having a bakery cafe that serves good food with beer and wine, just like cafes on the south side, be a detrimental to the community? At the September 3rd Board of Public Service closed meeting, the city approved 2 businesses expansion on the south side with full alcohol and outdoor seating. One of them was Shaved Duck, and the other one was Ray's Sport Bar. The question is, why did they get approved and APDF didn't?
Yes.
So we refuse to allow this to continue. So you'll be hearing more about Terry Rose with the next upcoming speakers. APDF is quite aware that the issue is bigger than APDF and Uhuru Bakery and Cafe. We will hear from representatives of the Northside businesses today who face roadblocks, red tape, and are denied resources. If the mayor of the city wants to end the disparities faced by the Black community on the north side, they need to do their jobs. They need to come to work. And I don't know if people have been down to City Hall. It's like a ghost town. There's nobody there. Nobody answers emails. They don't answer phone calls. They don't do anything. Half of them are just home, working from home like we still in COVID. So the city should provide help and support and not roadblocks, red tape, and denial. Instead of letting it rot, which has been the basic policy for way too long. Stop using present and internal policies as a cover to deny and block the Northside businesses from development. Give Uhuru Bakery Cafe our building permit now and waive the appeal hearing that is scheduled and set for February of 19. Uhuru.
Woo! Woo! Uhuru!
Uhuru. Thank you, President Onizane Shatella, for that overview and laying it out, summing it up for us. Next, I am happy to welcome APEDF's legal representative from the National Lawyers Guild, Jesse Neville, who will speak about the legal implications that St. Louis City has imposed on the Uhuru Bakery Cafe. Please welcome Jesse Neville.
Woo!
Uhuru. Thank you to African People's Education and Defense Fund Board President Onizane Shatella for holding this press conference, for the powerful statement, to the media who've come out here today, to everybody who is here. It's an honor to be here with President Onizane, with Chairman Omali Shatella, the leader of the Uhuru movement, and with everyone. As was stated, my name is Jesse Neville. I am a legal worker, member of the National Lawyers Guild, and political science student at UMSL, after which I will be obtaining a degree in law. I am here to speak out in defense of the African People's Education and Defense Fund and the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe against a city government that has repeatedly gone against its own laws, its own ordinances and standards to block this bakery from opening. The city has undoubtedly practiced openly discriminatory zoning and denial of due process to the African community. I join APEDF in calling on Mayor Tisharwa Jones to take action. For more than 30 years, the African People's Education and Defense Fund has worked to uplift, develop, and empower African communities throughout this country, including here in St. Louis. So the question is, why is the city government of St. Louis standing in the way? And what have they been doing for the past 30 years? Here's a brief summary of the saga that the African community here in North St. Louis has had to go through just to open this bakery, as we just heard from President Onizane Shatella. Step one, APEDF applied for a building permit for the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe. The zoning board put a hold on that process. Why? They said APEDF would have to apply for this conditional use permit because somehow opening a restaurant in an area known as a so-called food desert as a consequence of generations of city policy would somehow be in violation of the city's planning code without a special permit. So step two, APEDF applies for that conditional use permit. They had to wait more than 2 months for any response. Finally, at the hearing, the permit was denied because APEDF was told they didn't have the support of a neighborhood association. So already, the zoning section of the building department is breaking its own laws to stop the bakery from happening. Because there's nothing in the city's code or any legally binding statute requiring approval from a neighborhood association to secure a conditional use permit. The person from the zoning section who wrote the recommendation to deny the permit that went to the Board of Public Service was this person we just heard about, a staffer from that department named Sandra Long. She told a number of APEDF members that she made that, quote, judgment call to deny the permit based on opposition from one white person named Terry Rose, who claims to represent the College Hill Neighborhood Association. And there she is. Long also said APEDF didn't have a letter of support from the alderman. Try to find where in the city code it says that you need a letter of support from the alderman or a neighborhood association to open a restaurant. You won't find it. So once again, the city government acted against their own laws and internal protocols to try to stop economic development from happening in the African community. And just a note about Terry Rose and the Neighborhood Association, I invite the media to go to the city's website, try to find any trace of a so-called College Hill Neighborhood Association. This is a fraudulent entity. It does not exist in any legitimate form. Instead, Terry Rose, who calls herself the president emerita of the neighborhood association sends this libelous, baseless letter to the zoning section, and the city goes with that. Now, the city claims that community feedback is supposed to be the greatest measure against unjust zoning practices of the past. But city government officials ignored upwards of 300 signatures gathered in this neighborhood, in this community, to support this bakery, and instead hid behind the defamatory claims of one white woman to explain their denial of the permit. Richard Bradley, the president of the Board of Public Service, who has the power to approve or deny conditional use permits, put his rubber stamp on denial. As you heard from President Onizene, APEDF members asked him, what about the 300 signatures? He said he didn't even look at the file. He didn't even open it. He didn't question Sandra Long's recommendation. He didn't question Terry Rose's slanderous words. He didn't apply the standards for permit approval that are stated in the conditional use ordinances of the city, all of which were met with flying colors by APEDF. That's called violation of due process. They didn't even hold a meeting to have any recourse from APEDF when they made this unlawful decision. The zoning section's actions to block APEDF from opening the bakery continue generations of injustice and oppression of African people in this city, rooted in a legacy of slavery and colonialism that has never been resolved. The confinement of African people in the Pruitt-Igoe housing projects, where federal agents dumped toxic chemicals from rooftops, poisoning the people who live there. The destruction of Mill Creek Valley and so many other traditionally black neighborhoods are a direct consequence of the same process that is playing out today. The 1947 Comprehensive City Plan, created by Harland Bartholomew, who became the city's urban planner for 37 years, created the model for the discriminatory use of zoning laws to undermine economic development and life in the black community that is now used in cities throughout the United States. And many people are aware that in 1974, the Team Forward Plan outlined what became known as the Let It Rot policy. These words revealed the true intent of so-called urban planning in the city of St. Louis, to let the North Side rot. That is what they have done. The city puts all investment into the South Side. They consciously and intentionally create the conditions to force African people out of their neighborhoods on the North Side. And that's why St. Louis is literally known around the world for the Del Mar Divide. So what the zoning section has done with this bakery proves none of this was by accident. It was by design. The struggle to open the bakery, therefore, is a turning point for this city. What happens here will define the future of what St. Louis will look like. The mayor can and must make a powerful statement to say, the legacy of colonialism, slavery, injustice, and oppression must end, must be repaired. We are calling on the mayor to take action. Halt the zoning section's obstruction of economic development on the North Side. Hold them accountable for their flagrant violation of city law and infringement upon the rights of the black community. And one other quick note, the city government told APEDF they have to appeal this decision to the Board of Adjustment in February of 2025. That hearing should not happen. There should not be any need for an appeal hearing. We are demanding the mayor take action so that no appeal hearing is necessary. And one thing we recently learned is that Sandra Long, the same zoning section staffer who recommended the denial of the permit, sits on the Board of Adjustment as the secretary. So her decision will be appealed to her.
Wow.
Unless she recuses herself from the Board of Adjustment, an appeal process would further taint an already corrupt, unjust, unlawful, and illegitimate process. So we demand the immediate reversal of the denial of the conditional use permit. We demand an end to the discriminatory practices of the zoning section. We demand an end to the denial of due process by the president of the Board of Public Service, and for denying the permit in the first place, we demand justice for the zoning department's violations of its own standards for approval of permits as enumerated in the zoning code of ordinances. The mayor cannot stand by and watch the zoning section continue discriminatory and exclusionary zoning practices and denial of due process to block the African community from doing what the city has refused to do, work to generate independent commerce in their own hands, which will uplift the entire city. Thank you.
Uhuru, thank you, Jesse Neville. There have been at least 15 articles written about the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds. $37 million, but it's really over $490 million that still have not reached the North Side community. This next speaker is another small business owner who is relentless in pursuit of making sure every small business gets an opportunity for funding. Now, let's bring up Tamika DeVos-Stigers, founder and owner of Locks of Glory. Uhuru.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I didn't type up my notes, so I got my book. It's old school for you. Thank you all for being here in support of our brothers and sisters of the African People's Education and Defense Fund. My name is Tamika Stigers. I'm a small business owner in North City, specifically in the Central Corridor, as they would like to say. I've owned my salon and spa for 15 years, and I am standing here in support of the work of this organization. I stand before you representing over 100 members of the North St. Louis Business Coalition, which is a small grassroots organization that formed to fight against the injustice and the travesty of what they're calling the North St. Louis Small Business and Nonprofit Grant Program. First, the ADPDF has invested over $1 million into this neighborhood, College Hill, O'Fallon, to uplift this community. A community that boasts of historic homes, a large, beautiful park, hardworking Black families, but in the past has been riddled with drugs, violence, and poverty. We cannot continue to sit idly by and let the city choose not to do its part in the economic renaissance of this neighborhood. This neighborhood deserves good, healthy choices of food. This neighborhood deserves small businesses and resources for uplifting families that fosters pride and wellness. My grandmother has owned a home just around the corner here on Adelaide for 20 years, and I've seen the changes in this neighborhood over the years. That's why I believe we must continue to pressure the city to do the right thing, to stop blocking economic development. This North City neighborhood deserves every opportunity to thrive, just like those in South City. Speaking of North City, let me take a couple of minutes and talk about the North St. Louis Small Business and Nonprofit Grant Program. And just let me tell you guys, I could talk about this grant program for hours, okay? Because it's something that is near and dear to my heart. When a mayor who looks like me, who I voted for, a president of the St. Louis Development Corporation, a brother that grew up in the North Side that looks like me, who boasts about the fact that they want to invest in North St. Louis, but they're doing the complete opposite. They're doing the same thing that we've seen for the last 70 plus years. The mayor and SLDC, St. Louis Development Corporation, an entity that reports directly to the mayor, wants us to believe that the program was created to support Black small businesses in North City. They want us to believe that allocating 70% of $34 million to 22 organizations is supporting small Black businesses in North City. They want you and me to believe that 4% of the applicants, guys, 4%, should receive 70% of the funds.
Wow.
They want small Black businesses, which is 96% of the applicants. They want us to believe that we deserve to split up the crumbs, the 30%, of roughly $12 million. We deserve more than crumbs, guys. I'm here to tell you, I'm here to tell them to stop playing with the people's money, okay? The reason that St. Louis received $500 million in COVID relief funds is because of the large amount of devastation in North City. Let me say it this way. The reason St. Louis received such a large allocation of COVID relief funds is because of the poverty and neglect of North City. We have a city of roughly 300,000 people, but the federal government sent us $500 million, guys. It's because of these neighborhoods like this. We deserve and we demand better from our elected leaders. SLDC continues to tell us that spending $22 million with organizations like AMIC STL, Boys and Girls Club, Urban League, Affinia, Sweetie Pies, the People's Project, and so on, will yield $150 million in return on their investment. What about the return on the investment of our morale? You can't measure that. The level of deceit, corruption, ineptitude from SLDC leaves business owners with more questions than answers. Questions like, how can a grant program that was made to help businesses rebound from COVID allocate so much money to businesses that were formed after COVID ended? Have you thought about that? Questions like, how can employees like Cynthia Wilson, Alita Grimes Mitchell of the Urban League, go out and vet businesses, then turn around and be in line to receive $2 million themselves? Those are the questions we have. How can we believe anything that the mayor, Tashara Jones, or SLDC President Neil Richardson says when all the grant program is a development strategy under the guise of COVID relief? We deserve better. We want more than crumbs. Stand with us in support of this organization who's looking to transform this neighborhood. Stand with this organization and do the same in your neighborhood. We have collected signatures to get the state auditor to come in and audit the city. We're turning those signatures in tomorrow. It's not too late to sign. We're looking for we're looking for transparency, not the fake transparency that SLDC has put out on this portal that has given pieces of applications, that has left out budgets, that has left out what the businesses are planning to do with these funds. We need better from our leadership. We need better from our city government. If you have not signed the petition, it is not too late. We're turning in signatures tomorrow. We have enough signatures. We're hoping and we're praying that the city does the right thing and cooperate with our state auditor so that we can really truly see what is being done with the funds of the city. We heard from our comptroller a couple weeks ago. Did y'all know the city has plenty of money? Plenty of money. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that the city will receive $500 million from the federal government when they had a $42 million surplus and $150 million, what the comptroller calls a rainy day fund. Well, I'm here to tell y'all, baby, it's raining and it's pouring in the city. And we have the dollars to change it. We have to continue to demand that our city does the work that they said that they would do and not let up. We have to do it. We say keep our foot on their necks. Thank you.
Uhuru! Woo!
Uhuru. Thank you, Tamika Stigers, right? I'm sorry about that. Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate that, that layout and the information. And next, all the ARPA money should go to the north side of the city. Uplifting the north side of this city will uplift the entire city. The people in the North St. Louis community, this North St. Louis community, have the answers and the aspirations to bring our community back to its former glory. Next, I would like to bring up Uhuru Foods and Pies Director Maureen Wagner to present what APEDF can do for the community and how it's tied to the African Independence Workforce Program and the history of the Uhuru Foods and Pies. Uhuru, Maureen.
Woo-woo!
Uhuru. I want to say good morning. As has been said, my name is Maureen Wagner, and I salute President Onizanaye Shatella, the architect of the Black Power Blueprint, and the leader of all this economic work that is solving the problems that this Black community faces. I also am honored to have behind me Chairman Omali Shatella. I am a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and it is an incredible honor to be a member of the board of the African People's Education and Defense Fund and the director of Uhuru Foods and Pies. Since APDF began building the Black Power Blueprint in 2017, the vision of President Yeshitela and the board and the staff has always included a bakery, an eating and gathering place, a production facility, and the development of the African Independence Workforce Program. One of the first acquisitions of the African People's Education Defense Fund in St. Louis was the boathouse at Goodfellow and Natural Bridge. APDF has been working to raise the more than $1 million to turn that building into this bakery to meet the mission and to build the African Independence Workforce Program. And just to say, the mission of the AIWP is to reverse the negative economic impact of the colonial economy and prison system. The African Independence Workforce Program is training members of the African community to contribute to a prosperous future through development of the liberated economy. At the planned bakery cafe and at this location, AIWP will train African men and women coming out of incarceration or facing other barriers to employment in culinary schools and management, and keep the Black community united, keeping the skills and training in this community and commerce flowing in this community. On August 10, 2022, Lance Knuckles from the SLDC toured the Black Power Blueprint, including the boathouse. He told us then that we should not apply for the grants for North St. Louis small businesses for that kitchen because the project on Goodfellow needed too much money, and they would not award a grant of that size, even though APDF owned the building, had the architectural plans, had donors, had a professional international designer design it. So, but we see what's happening with those grants now, as Tamika just told us. And in fact, you see organizations who are copying the plan that APDF is always transparent about, being told they're going to get $1.75 million. So this location is tied to this question because when this happened, one of the strategies of President Yeshitela was, let's start small. Let's launch the bakery from a smaller location. Let's get people used to having the food and wanting more of it. So that's why this building was purchased in January of this year. For more than 40 years, Uhuru Foods and Pies has developed, produced, and sold delicious foods to raise funds that support programs of APDF and to have an independent economy in the Black community. Thousands of people of all nationalities and ages, student groups, seniors, families, have volunteered with Uhuru Foods and Pies because they support the right and ability of the African community to have economic development and commerce. We promised this community that we would be open by early fall. We have a sign on the window saying that, to make our famous Uhuru holiday pies for the community. Black contractors are lined up to benefit from the jobs here and to contribute to this because they support it. While the city has done everything to try to deny this community, Uhuru is still going to bake pies for the holiday for this community to keep our promise and showcase the delicious foods that the city won't let this community claim as its own. We encourage everyone to order them. This Uhuru Bakery Cafe is a positive beacon for the future of North St. Louis and all of St. Louis, as has already been said, and should not be pushed back. Uhuru.
Woo!
Uhuru. Thank you, Maureen. Next, it is my honor to welcome Siali Moyenda, Outreach Coordinator of Uhuru Foods and Pies, who will speak to the outreach done in the College Hill community and beyond, and what the community is saying. Siali.
All right, Uhuru. As you heard, my name is Siali Moyenda. I'm the outreach coordinator for Uhuru Foods and Pies, which means that I'm in charge of being out in the community, establishing relationships with businesses, with our volunteers, with our supporters, and it's an important job. And I just want to say that we took doing outreach in this community very seriously to gain support for Uhuru Bakery Cafe. And I was one of the people who went door to door in this community. We went out in pairs to knock on doors. But before that, we got out a lot of information. We went to every house on O'Bear, on Gano, on John, on Prairie and College, just to name a few. And we dropped hundreds of pieces of information. And one of the things that I noticed is that there are more vacant and abandoned properties than there are houses in the community. But we still wanted to reach everybody we could in the College Hill area. So we followed up after we dropped all the information. We followed up going door to door and talking with Africans in the community. And we were letting them know who we are and the importance of opening up Uhuru Bakery Cafe, because we want to have good food in the community, healthy food in the community. And we want to provide training, we want to provide jobs, and bring real economic commerce to this neighborhood. And so through the efforts in the College Hill area, as well as in other areas of the north and south sides, we collected over 300 signatures from residents and businesses, all in support of Uhuru Bakery Cafe. And here they are, right here, physical proof. Okay?
Woo! Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And then just want to say, Terry Rose has implied that we were lying when we told the Conditional Use Hearing Board that the residents of this community want this cafe. You just saw the proof, right? Okay. And they could see the names because the board had those names already.
Right.
They had it in the file. You know, they could see the names coming from O'Bear and John and other streets around here. And they saw that the community wanted this, and they ignored it. You know, they said that the heck with the community support and desires to have this bakery cafe. So, also the most striking thing that I noticed too was how surprised but yet happy people were to have somebody come to them. You know, and it really makes me sad because I wonder how long has it been since anyone has come to the people? To, you know, whether it be a city official or some community organization. And again, the 90% black community, because remember, Terry Rose said that it wasn't that many black folks, right? But every door that I knocked on, there was black folks. Okay, so you know, the community is still asking us, when are we opening? And they know who we are. We've introduced ourselves many times over. But they're asking because they're tired of having to leave the community to get a good meal.
Right.
They're tired of substandard, quick food that does not support healthy bodies whatsoever. And they are tired of these low-quality grocery store or so-called grocery stores that are in the community. Okay? And they're tired of the fact that there's no economic development in this community. And it's the type of economic development that we're going to provide that's going to uplift the community, not push it out or starve it out like the city of St. Louis wants to do. Uhuru, thank you.
Woo! Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Siali. I am now elated to welcome Allison Honey, manager of Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles, lifelong member of APEDF, and Uhuru Foods and Pies, who will speak to you around Terry Rose, a white nationalist and so-called leader of College Hill Neighborhood Association, who is in opposition of bringing food to the African community. Okay. Yeah, come on up, Allison.
Uhuru, thank you, Makeda, for that amazing introduction. And my name's Allison Haney. As been stated, I'm a proud member of the African People's Solidarity Committee that works directly under the leadership of the Uhuru movement. And I'm honored to work under the leadership of President Onozene Shatella in helping to build Uhuru Foods here in St. Louis. And, you know, it's outrageous that we're here today at a press conference instead of ordering our lunch at Uhuru Bakery and Cafe. a beautiful new community restaurant, and that's largely because of Terry Rose that we're not able to get our lunch right now. Who is she, and why doesn't she want the 90% Black community of College Hill to have access to delicious fresh food? More importantly, how does her hostile, racist opinion have such power over the city of St. Louis, despite overwhelming support from the community shown to the zoning department at the August 22nd conditional use hearing that Sayali just told us about and showed us? That her lone voice, as she supposedly said that she was representing this elusive College Hill Neighborhood Association, on which she had no official role as of August 22nd, swayed Sandra Long, zoning planning examiner, to make her judgment call to deny our permit. Terry Rose boasts that she has lived here for over 35 years and that her great-great-grandfather lived in College Hill in the 1850s. At that time, this neighborhood was dominated by Colonel John O'Fallon's 600-acre plantation as part of his business, quote, empire, where he owned and enslaved more than 83 African people. African people were forced to build O'Fallon's 50-room mansion called Athlone on top of the ruins of an indigenous village, and that is now O'Fallon Park, right up here.
Wow.
In the decades that, so really, she has nothing to be proud of that her grandfather, great-great-grandfather lived here, because whatever he did, he was part of that economy that
Right.
was built on the backs of African people enslaved. In the decades that Terry Rose has lived here, what has she done to uplift and improve the community? She owns a lot of houses and plots. This is one of her plots of land right beside the bakery with a big dead tree on it. What has she done to uplift this community? And she's making money off of it, obviously. Yet she has the white nationalist audacity to oppose the real economic development being built by the African People's Education and Defense Fund, and stands as a white colonial occupier and overseer in opposition to African people having control over their own lives and communities. She doesn't want African people to even have a restaurant and good food. She testified at the zoning division hearing that this community can't afford to eat in a restaurant. That's what she said. People here cannot afford to eat in a restaurant. And if African people sit out here enjoying a beer with their lunch, Black people will shoot each other. This is what came out of her mouth.
God.
Rose also slandered the restaurants that preceded ours, saying that all of them have failed. But in fact, Kay's restaurant, it was right here, had the signs up as we came in, expanded and is flourishing. Is she determining that all Black businesses in College Hill are doomed? This is not the 1850s, Terry. No white person can speak for this community or try to control African people or stop them from having resources and businesses. African people have agency and speak for themselves. APEDF is not racist or divisive, as Rose stated. They welcome everyone who wants to contribute and participate in the Black Power Blueprint. If we want to play a constructive role as white people, we need to be actively supporting the right of African people to have economic and political power and self-determination so that they can have flourishing neighborhoods like we have on the South Side. We need to bring our skills, our resources, and our enthusiasm for the right of APEDF to open Uhuru Bakery and Cafe and come and have breakfast and lunch here and buy our holiday pies to support Black community commerce, and we can also join the APEDF volunteer teams. As APEDF Board President Ona Zanea Shatella stated, Terry Rose openly slandered APEDF in her statement to the zoning hearing and was libelous in her vicious, vile lies that she wrote to the board. The city of St. Louis united with her racist attacks, and we call on the mayor and the city government to right this very serious wrong and give Uhuru Bakery and Cafe the conditional use permit today. Thank you,
Uhuru, thank you, Allison, for that. As you heard, the neighbors have expressed profound appreciation in so many ways. The transformation we've done has uplifted everyone. It has sparked everyone in the West Florissant corridor to repair and improve their homes and businesses. People are now staying in the neighborhood because of APEDF. This is the change that the mayor, Richard Bradley, Mary Hart Burton, Sandra Long, and SLDC say they want, but are blocking. Now, it is my honor to welcome another voice in our community, Angels Within founder and CEO, Karen Greer, to speak about the transformation of this community. Uhuru.
Hello, and thank you all for attending. The African People's Education Defense Fund has done a great job in this community. My name is Karen Greer. I am the owner of Angels Within CDS Home Healthcare, located right across the street from the Uhuru headquarters on West Florissant off of Alice. This year is my 20th year anniversary being in business in this community. And my reward is nothing from the city of St. Louis and the mayor and SLDC for my hard work, my taxes that I've paid, and the investment that I've built on a block that is a stretch of West Florissant between Alice and Adelaide. What I've experienced is a lot of blockage from the city and development. We are in a food desert, right? So in applying for grants and funding to build up our community economically, we keep getting shut down, we keep getting blackballed, we keep getting the answer no. I sit right next to a BP gas station located at Adelaide and West Florissant. Those are the people that are reaping the benefits in our communities and saturating us with the crime and the drugs from those businesses. I also want to highlight another business. The new Light Chop Suey is selling food that has bugs in it. But you want to shut down this organization from bringing healthy food in our community. I reported this food hazard to our alderperson. I reported it to the CSB. I reported it to our state health department. And not one person has contacted me today. Not one person has went by there and looked at the decade-old wrinkled inspection sticker that you can't even see a grade on that inspection sticker. But yet and still, you want to block, again, this business from bringing something good in this community. I have watched them come in this community after I got into my business. Everything they touch is gold. Everything that they bring into this community beautifies this community and help us in ways that the city refuses to do. So I stand in support with the African People's Education Defense Fund in the support of opening this. I have a long-standing relationship with Terry Rose. I have talked with her. I have sat on hearings against the gas station that they want to keep saturating our community with their bad food and bad business and bad conduct. However, I don't agree with her standing in defense of this opportunity for them to open up something good for our community. I'd rather come here and eat. I'd rather come here and eat outside and have a cocktail if I choose to, because guess what? I'm from this community. I grew up in this community. My family is a part of the benign neglect that was pushed out of here with civil liberties, have been violated in so many ways that we need justice, and we need it swiftly, right? That 37 million, that $500,000 ain't even enough to touch what damage they've done in the decades. And the charter that they have right now is hurting us. It's hurting us tremendously, and they won't change it. So I commend you all for doing a great job in this community. All of the support that you have. It's not just black, it's not just white. This is a group of right people that's doing the right thing in the right community. So I applaud you all. I stand in support with you all. I'm always gonna love honor. You know what? It's about doing what's right and bringing some good to our community and make the dollars come over here. I'm also opposed to the ARPA funds going to the wrong people, Urban League. We're gonna talk about Farrakhan Shigad, who owns Young People's in Action. I think that's what it is. An organization that was not in place when COVID was taking place, but yet and still they got an $11 million project where they got $1 million from CDA, who's also tied in under Mayor Tashara's leadership, and then 1.5 out of the ARPA. How do you get that much funding and you haven't done as much work, you haven't paid as much taxes, you haven't done your due work in the communities that's needed, but yet the opportunities keep going to the same demographic of people. It's tied to the politicians and their cronies. It's time to stop that and bring the money back to our communities. Thank you.
Uhuru, thank you so much for that, Allison. Next, I want to bring up Committeeman Anthony Bell. I'm sorry, Karen. Oh, I lost my place on the form. Thank you so much, Karen. I'm sorry. Next, I want to bring up Committeeman Anthony Bell, who was born and raised right here and has represented Ward 3, now Ward 14, since 2012. Come on up, Anthony.
Woo!
Good morning. We're looking at a situation that's going on that's in the city of St. Louis that's very, very, unusual for one particular business look like right now. This defense fund or whatever we've been talking about for the longest for North St. Louis. First of all, let me introduce who I am, first of all, and where I've been and what makes me so appalled right now about getting started here. I grew up in this neighborhood over here in North St. Louis. I went to Fairgrounds Park and we had to fight to get in the swimming pool over there. And I grew up on Bailey and right at Grand and Bailey there. And it was a lot of racism when it came to schools and stuff like that over here. This particular school over here, we had problems at school over here where our sisters and brothers go over there get in a fight with the other children and stuff, mostly white kids and stuff, So there's nothing new over here. Whatever's happening in this city over here, in St. Louis area, is nothing new to me. I seen a lot of businesses come and go when black folks took them over. There was no business support with mom and pop stores and gas stations over here. The first gas stations in this neighborhood were black. On the corner of Kasud and Grand, on the corner of Natural Bridge, what used to be BP is Standard Arm back then. And they were black stations, service stations, black mom and pop stores over here. And it was more so after the aftermath of a lot of whites began to, exit the city. They took over a lot of businesses up through West Florissant here. All down by Hyde Park. Physically, I got in fights myself with whites. And as a kid. And I came over in this neighborhood in 1964. I grew up over here in 64. And most of these businesses was owned by white people up through this area over here. On the corner of Old Bear, right there in West Florissant. Back in 1976, we opened up a political headquarters there. On the corner of Old Bear and West Florissant, right there. The building's still there, right there. That was the first political headquarters we opened as black folks in this area over here. I remember when Congressman Clay was first running for office. First black sheriff of the city of St. Louis, Benny Goins. First black senator, Jed Banks. First aldermen and stuff. It's just a lot. I grew up coming up in these areas over here, and I've seen things come and go. But back then, we never could get to the root of the real problem in our neighborhoods over here, and it was systemic racism then, as it is today, in many areas, mostly under the guidelines of politics. I remember when the United States government allocated a Team 4 plan back in the 60s. So all of the stressed cities across the country, Detroit, Chicago, and all these St. Louis were one of them, allocated a lot of money for our areas over here to recover. But somehow or another, some of our so-called influential, even our black leadership, found it feasible to allocate the money to South St. Louis in the city of St. Louis other than let it stay in North St. Louis. That was one of the biggest problems that I was under coming up in the North St. Louis area over here. Enough money to have reestablished the black community over here back in the 60s and the 70s. It was called the Team 4 plan. And people that was empowered to do these things to make the change was a part of a system about just getting them dollar bills in their pocket and letting the North St. Louis area go. It had a lot to do also after the city began to change in North St. Louis with a lot of black power control politically to allocate them funds from our own community to the South Side. They were black folk, black leaders that did that. In 1978, I was the committee man of the 3rd Ward. I worked under the leadership of the Bosley family. I'm gonna call it what it is. And I was the committee man by appointee. And we worked out this office right on the corner here on Old Barry and West Florissant. There we had rented that place there. And I was in college at the time. I was going to Forest Park Community College. And I decided when I turned 21 years old, I put my foot in the arena for state representative against Russell Garwood, who was a long-time statesman at the time. But we was trying to get rid of Russell Garwood because he was doing the same thing that some of our other politicians ended up doing, allocating money everywhere but North St. Louis. Russell Garwood had an office right there on across from Fairgrounds Park, right there on the corner of Kossuth. At that time, he had been in office for maybe about several years. He's a black statesman. He never could send no money back down in North St. Louis. So what are you talking about? The same thing that's been happening for 30 and 40 years in North St. Louis. For some reason or another, I think what we have disaster in our city under poor leadership, people that don't understand the real thing behind helping one another and the difference between humanity and dogism. So I had a lot of problem with that because when I got involved in politics, I was attracted to a friend of mine. He was a union worker. Never forget him. He worked for the ships downtown. He worked for United Ships downtown on the river. He the one that brought me into politics when I was 17 years old. I worked as just going around knocking on doors, putting out flyers and stuff, introducing people to what was going to happen in our community, which I thought was going to happen in our community. And it never happened, as you well see now. We're still under the same thing, systemic racism, deep-rooted in our community over here. The history of it, it goes back to who owned this part of the land back in maybe the turn of the century, back 100 and some years ago. So it's deep-rooted, and until we can root out them problems, we should never give up. I am the marshal of the Dr. King thing here in the state of Missouri. I'm also a civil rights activist. I put on the first protest in Ferguson, Missouri for Michael Brown's mama family. I led the protest that led into a pretty well disastrous situation. I'm the one who put the first protest on for Michael Brown's family. And I stood there and I fed people to come out and register and vote and stuff at the same time. But I've been an activist with Dick Gregory, Percy Green, all of them when I was a child coming up. So I'm still an activist. But I still engage in everything I find that's a good fight. I was taught when you see a good fight, get involved. And that's what I've been doing for a long time. So again, I say I'm in support of anything that I feel that's going to bring progressive growth and businesses to our city over here in North St. Louis area over here. And I don't know how much time I had, but you can't turn it over to me because I would really tell you what time it is and where I come from. You may think I'm not nobody, but I'm moving slow, but I'm active. But I've been in this for a long time, and I haven't given up. I might give up, but I'm not going to give up. So I'm here with you all in support of what all you're trying to do over here. I think I need to sign that paper too. I signed it one. I may have fact, we need to march on City Hall. We need to go down there. That's what I believe in, see. So, yes, ma'am. And I like the idea when I came along, there was more men out here than women. When I came along, now I see more women out here than men. But one thing about it, I come from a woman. You know what I mean? I come from a woman, and I never disrespected a woman because my mama taught me values and understanding that where the whole world comes from a woman. And I heard him say a long time ago, I wanted Kamala Harris to win so bad. And I was thinking about it, I said, it was an old saying that it took a woman to get us into this, it's gonna take a woman to get us out. But the top line is that we're all doing a good work. I'm supportive of this organization here, and anybody over here that's got good businesses and want to do the right thing, I'm here for you.
Woo!
Uhuru, thank you, Anthony Bell. March on City Hall, right? Okay. Okay. So next I'd like to bring up a longtime activist and true warrior in our community and an avid supporter of small businesses, Sophia Chauvin of the Universal African Peoples Organization. Sophia. Okay, come on up.
Uhuru. Well, comrades, we are here trying to accomplish goals of our ancestors. We're still fighting. And I'm here representing Zaki Baruti, President General of UAPO. I'm the Vice President and co-founder of UAPO. And we have, I thought we should have spoken right after also Ona Zane, because we have been some of your strongest and first allies. Okay, we're always supportive of other groups who are doing the same things that we try to do, and we were so happy when you all came to St. Louis, because we know what's needed, how poorly things have been going for the St. Louis African community. But anyway, Zaki couldn't be here today, so I'm here. And actually everything, all the positive things that you've been doing in this community, I think the reason why they're trying to shut you down is because you stand as an example of what can be done. And when they see you, black and white, united, fighting for the African communities, in all the neighborhoods that are run down and abandoned and neglected for years, they know if you're successful, other people will look at that and they'll say, well, we want to do that too in our communities. So it's going to spread like wildfire, And so that's what they don't want. And that's why we're sticking with you. No matter what happens, we're going to be here with you and for you. I won't repeat all the positive. I did learn a little bit more about Terry Rose. I didn't know her history, and she's got the wrong name. Well, she's got she's got the thorny part. Thorns, yeah. So, yeah, not without the rose. We just call her Terry Thorn. Okay. But anyway, I feel like making a joke today. I haven't had anything to eat. I'm going to get some of this delicious pies. And we need everything you've brought to the neighborhood has been so strong and positive. And I'm so honored to be here to stand and say you have our full support, help, as you know. And whatever we can do, besides talk, we're going to be hanging with you always and forever. Ashe.
Woohoo! Uhuru!
Uhuru. And let's see. You said Gregory? Okay. So we're gonna bring up Gregory, but we wanted to just, thank you also. Sophia, could you pronounce your name for me again? Sophia Siobhan. I stand corrected. But we wanted you all to close out, this presentation and have something to say because you've been one of our biggest supporters and you've been around since the beginning. So, we just really want to thank you and thank your organization for always being there and showing up on all fronts. And next, we would like to have Gregory Reed step up and just say some words in support of, you have a couple of minutes, say some words in support of Uhuru Foods and Pies and the Black Power Blueprint. Uhuru.
Good morning. I moved to St. Louis in 1988, and I lived at Cary and Rosalie. And coming from Minneapolis, I wasn't used to St. Louis culture. And my fiance would get angry with me because I would sit out on the porch with the door open, and she would say, people gonna come by here and look in here and take something. If I worked on my little raggedy car, she'd get mad at me because she was worried that someone would come along and assault me. And when I walked up to the Moose Lounge, which I had heard about for many years before I moved to St. Louis, she'd get mad at me because I was putting myself in harm's way. This was fear. And we have a lot of fear in St. Louis, and we need to break that fear. It's things like Uhuru House and the African People's Organization that is doing a great deal to eliminate that fear. When I went out volunteering to get signatures from businesses, they would ask me, they would support it, but they wanted to know why do you need to get a why do you need to get a provisional permit? None of us had to get that. It's just a matter of just going and you're opening up a business, you're doing something positive for the community. And I think you've heard from the various people here, that's the very question that we have before us. Why? Why? In whose interest is it that the North Side is being treated the fashion that it is? One of the reasons that I participate with Uhuru House is because over the months that I slowly attended and participated in things, I saw that the individuals, the leadership, the volunteers didn't just talk that talk, but they walked that walk. And that's what we need to expect from our city officials, for them to walk the walk to put the North Side business community in a strong position. So again, let me thank all the work that you're doing here. I'm going to continue to volunteer, and I'm looking forward to knocking out a couple of these pies.
Woo!
Uhuru. Next, if Jagan would like to come on up and say something real quick.
All right. Wait, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm Javen. I was born 2002. I'm now 22 years old. Over 22 years, I've only seen the conditions for our people get worse. When I was little, a lot of stuff used to be in walking distance, but now you gotta drive 15 to 20 minutes away to go to a grocery store. I seen neighborhoods where you would build a Popeyes or a beauty supply instead of an urgent care. I got a splinter on my foot, it could have gotten infected, and we had to drive 50 minutes to the nearest urgent care to get it out. There's some people that don't got the resources to do that. I just want to know, like, Tashora, that's her name? Tashora, and Tashora Jones and the alderman, all the people in the city of St. Louis, why are y'all okay with just letting the city rot? You see beautiful places, beautiful houses like around Forest Park, all that area, and then you get right here and it looked like they had the battle of Ukraine over here. It's burnt buildings, abandoned buildings. There's nothing for people here. I got cousins from Kentucky. They gotta come through this part of the city to get to where I live. They over here having suspicions because they don't even trust the way it looked, because it looked like a wasteland. They can't even believe this the gateway city. What is it the gateway to? Death? Because we all dying. We can't even do nothing. There's people. I see a dude. I was an intern with the Uhuru House this whole summer. It's a dude by the Uhuru House who just sit there every morning. He don't got nowhere to go. He looked like he around my age. He just sit there on the porch of an abandoned building smoking all the time. I be scared for him. I don't know what's going on with him, because it just don't look like he gonna go nowhere. People in St. Louis, they don't talk about it, but they find dead bodies on the street all the time. Some of these dead bodies are not from gunshot wounds, and they was not murdered, or they was murdered by the city because the lack of resources that they giving people. It just don't make sense. Tashara, you always on Instagram talking about how you doing everything for black people, but every time I see black people, I don't see nothing getting done for them. So I just want y'all to just take responsibility. Y'all in a position of power, and y'all choose to not use the power. I don't know why, but it's like y'all got something going on. Just be real. It's really not that serious to just help somebody. When you help more people, the more a community can grow and you get more. There's no need to be selfish. Why would you want to live all lavish? You gonna have, look, how does it make sense? You got a mansion and beautiful cars, and then you ride around the corner and it's a whole bunch of dead bodies and dirt around.
Yeah.
That don't even make sense. Why would you want to live there? Why would you want to, what is wrong with y'all? There's nothing in any circumstances that's wrong with opening a bakery in a community where you gotta walk, if you don't got a car, 30 minutes to get some food from a Chinese place with bugs in it. Why you want bugs in your rice? That don't make sense. But I'm just saying, yeah.
Woo! 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 Uhuru!
Look, he just saying, let's make it plain. Make it real plain, right? He the age of my baby, shoot. Yeah, that's right. Be aware and involved out here. Thank you so much for that, Javen. Next, we would like to allow anybody just a few minutes to ask any questions that you might have. We won't be, asking, the speakers won't ask questions individually after the press conference. So if you have any questions, you can step forth and ask those questions now.
So you have appealed the decision on the conditional use permit?
No, we have a scheduled date to appeal. I think it's February 25th of 2025. That's like 4 months away.
But you were supposed to appeal.
We did appeal. We did put in our application. I'm sorry.
So the process is still ongoing.
Absolutely.
So you got 200 plus signatures of support. Did you know that this College Hill Neighborhood Association existed, or?
Well, we did not find out about the College Hill Neighborhood, the so-called College Hill Neighborhood Association until later, when we were told that we had to get a letter from that association. So we went to their meeting, and when we went to their meeting, it was very hostile. When we walked in, they act like we were some kind of criminals, really. And they let us speak, but they were opposed, you could tell by the questions that they were asking. Why is the building painted black? You're gonna, like, black, it's beautiful. If you know anything about interior design,
Yeah.
black is the in color right now for anything that's inside your house or outside your house. And they wanted to also know about the zoning people told us to put everything in the application. We want to be able to serve beer and wine at this location. We want to have outside seating. So they're saying, well, we don't want beer and wine, and we don't want liquor in this community because people are going to come here and shoot up the building, shoot up people sitting outside. It's crazy. It's crazy. If you can have it on the south side, we can have it on the north side.
Yeah.
And Alderman,
Rashid,
yeah, he's supporting it now?
yes, he wrote us a letter of support.
Was he not supporting it?
Well, at first, we didn't think he was supporting. He came to our building, and we did a presentation with him and Kim Collins and let him know all the work that we've been doing in this community. He immediately wrote a letter for us of support. And he said that he was going to get in touch with the so-called neighborhood association to have them write a letter as well. But that has not happened as of today.
Is it going to be an issue because you are pretty close to a school? I'm not 100% sure how the city's liquor license regulations work, but I mean, is that a stumbling block?
It might be. We need to investigate that. But even at that, you know, the Board of Commission could have came back and said, you know, we're going to award you this permit, but you can't have liquor because you're close to a school or a church. You know, those could have been conditions that they have imposed on us, but still gave us the permit to move forward. And that didn't happen.
So do you think the neighborhood association or the city in general, do you think the city is making this decision? Do you think, is it all based on Mr. Yeshatila's conviction?
Mr. Ishatella was not convicted, and this is not about Omali Ishatella. This is about the African People's Education and Defense Fund, who's been in and had a nonprofit since 1994. Mr. Ishatella is not involved in African People's Education and Defense Fund.
So you don't think it's
It could be, but what does it have to do with what we're talking about today? We have invested $1 million in this community, and that should speak volume to the city, who has not invested anything in this community.
Right. Yeah.
I guess that's the neighborhood association's opposition?
Well, you heard what you have in your packet. I really appreciate you, Jacob, because you've been here. You have been at all of our events, our openings. You have Terry Rose's information of what she said in that packet, so you can call and ask her.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and we are just curious about all the other Blight businesses that are in this neighborhood who has not gotten the support of the $37 million that the SLDC is supposed to bring to this community. So what about them? It's not just about APDF. Yes, we're talking about us right now, but we are also concerned about those businesses. Angels Within, Glory of Lots, all the different businesses that have not been funded, but other people like the Urban League, the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
All these businesses have a way of financing their own capacity, while the small businesses are always left behind.
Did APDF, did any of your entities apply for any of that grant money?
We were told by Lance Knuckles that we should not apply for those resources because they would not be giving $1 million out to any organization. That's what we were told. So we didn't apply for these funds, but we did apply for the CDA funds, and we didn't hear one thing, whether we were turned down or anything. And I know we had one of the best applications that was put forth.
Is that for community garden you got, or what did you apply for?
We applied for the community kitchen. That's why we decided to go smaller. So we, to complete the kitchen on Goodfellow and Natural Breeze is gonna cost us $1.2 million. So we decided to start small, come to this area and open up this kitchen here so we can get started. So people in the community can know who we are as far as our food is concerned. Thank you, Jacob. Anybody else?
Thank you for your questions. And I just want to say, you know, for the record, enough is enough. Stop the attacks on the North Side businesses and Uhuru Bakery and Pies Cafe. The city has attacked all APEDF programs for 7 years, from the Farmers Market, the Gary Brooks Community Garden, and the Black Power Vanguard basketball court right up the street. They've even tried to deny us the properties we were already granted by the LRA. Now they're saying no to a restaurant and cafe. The mayor can immediately put a stop to this mess by waiving the Uhuru Bakery appeal process and let us start renovations so we can bring fresh food to our community. The mayor can show her support for small Black businesses on the north side. She can show her support for ending the food desert on the north side. And she can show her support for economic development. We should not have to wait another 4 months for a so-called appeal. Thank you for coming out today. And we say no more. This discrimination must end. And, you know, again, I really want to thank everyone for coming out and contributing to this conversation, you know, and helping lay it out and understand what's going on in the community regarding our ability to have economic development and self-determination. And this concludes our press conference. Uhuru.